4 a.m., there was a shooting. I was shot in the face, and then I was in the hospital for 2.5 months. The first of that was in intensive care. My mother, we weren't sure if I was going to make it. And then after that, I went to rehab, and I had to learn to walk again, talk, everything.
Yeah, I remember those moments in the hospital. You don't remember all of them, I'm sure.
Right.
Obviously sedated. And man, I remember talking to your mom and hearing what the doctors were saying. And I remember that first visit we had. And on my way back when we got in the car, calling Nicole and saying, she needs a miracle. And obviously here we are 4 years later, and you're a walking testimony of God's strength. What was going through your mind once you started to realize, like we started to recognize, hey, she's going to make this. Like she's going to win. We don't have any clue how. And they were going to reconstruct your face and some of the things. What was going through your mind in those early moments that you can remember?
Yeah, everything in that early time, everything was news to me because I had no memory of the shooting or anything. So, you guys telling me what was going on with me, I had no clue why I was even in the hospital. So
2.5 months of your life completely gone.
Yeah.
You struggled to talk. You had a whiteboard, if I recall.
Yes, yeah.
And you wrote on it and would write notes to us. We would ask you questions because you were intubated still.
Yes, yeah.
But you could communicate with us through your whiteboard.
I actually got reunited with one of the nurses who took care of me, and she said, that was the pits of hell. And it truly was because, I wasn't always this grit you told me about. I didn't just automatically get that. At first, it was really dark, and I did, refuse therapy and things like that before, thankfully, by the grace of God, I got that grit. Ambition to keep going. Yeah, the grit. I really had to lean on God for that.
Down in Indianapolis, you come back to Marion Health, Marion General, and you're in rehab here, and you start to wake up a little bit and start fighting. It's just they're not forcing it anymore. Would that be an accurate statement? You're starting to hey, I'm going to do this?
Yeah, that's where that grit was born, there in the rehab unit. And I still, like I said, had those days where it was dark and I would refuse therapy or different things. But that grit was born.
So then we finally get out.
Yeah.
And you find out that we've moved you to a different location. That house where that shooting happened was not going to be home anymore.
Yes. The hardest losses of the whole thing was, losing my house.
But at that point, you were walking with a walker.
Yes. Yeah.
Could barely put your own clothes on, right?
Correct.
Do you remember how mad you were at us?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that too. And I'm sure your mom does.
Yeah.
And she's going to get to watch this.
Another thing was just the humility of it. Because, here in Marion, there were techs taking care of me that I had worked with before. And now they're, literally taking care of me as far as, changing my pants, everything. So that was really what I felt at the time. It was humiliating, but now I see what God has done in that. And everyone kept saying, oh, you'll get used to a new normal. And so especially when I got back to the house, when I was discharged from the hospital, I just thought, if this is my new normal, I don't want it.
What's amazing is when you're fighting in the room to put your pants on your own. Your mom was and others were on the other side of the wall.
Yeah.
Fighting for you, but fighting in the spiritual realm.
Yeah, absolutely.
And today, Shelby, you're a miracle. Not because of anything other than just God.
Absolutely. In recovery, everything is a miracle every day. In Indianapolis, it was a miracle when I first breathed on my own without the machines. And then, in rehab, it was a miracle the first time I walked. And then it was a miracle the first time I walked without any assistance, like walkers. So it's, these miracles on top of miracles.
Yeah.
That just...
What would you tell our people is the greatest miracle of all then?
Definitely that I had already given my life to Christ, and but through this, I got a relationship with Him in a new way. I was able to depend on God in that time for strength that I would have never been able to draw from anywhere else, and would not have made this recovery without God with me.
So would you say I'm just assuming, it was 9 years ago you gave your life to Jesus. Would that be about right?
Yeah.
Halfway through it, trauma. And so today, you're a walking miracle because of God in your life. And here's the amazing part. I want our people to hear this. That you literally are just graduating from nursing school right now.
Yeah.
And you're going back to work on the very floor that you rehabbed on.
Yes.
That's called a miracle.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought, oh my goodness, that's all ordained by God, that I'm going to work as a nurse on the unit where I learned to walk.